Welcome to ABC24 This Week. I'm Richard Ransom. We're here every Sunday at 9 a.m. and 10:35 p.m. to bring you the real story behind the big stories. And here's what we have planned for you this Halloween night. In a moment, we'll be joined by Dr. Manoj Jain as one of the official members of the Shelby County COVID-19 Task Force. He's a leading expert on the pandemic and how we're doing as a community in fighting the virus. We'll ask him if he can finally see an end to this pandemic. Special session, even though we seem to finally have the upper hand on this virus, that did not stop Tennessee lawmakers from having a rare special session this week. They are considering as many as 100 different bills to determine how we will deal with this and future public health emergencies. And Kelsey indicted. State Senator Brian Kelsey of Germantown facing 5 federal charges for breaking the law over how he handled campaign finances in his failed bid for Congress 5 years ago. We'll break down the case against him and his reaction to the indictment. But first, we want to introduce our panel today. We have Dr. Manoj Jain, the aforementioned, and also Otis Sanford, local ABC24's political analyst and commentator. So, Dr. Jain, Otis and I are going to fire some questions off to you here and get your take on where things stand. I do the numbers every night on our newscasts showing new cases, positive diagnoses for the virus, and we've had some very good, encouraging numbers here recently. So much so, in fact, that the health department decided to relax the mask mandate requirement. I just want to get your take on what you think is the broader picture here. Do you think with the lack of any new variant that seems to be causing any concerns right now, can we see an end to this pandemic at this point?
So, Richard, I think we're really close to the end. I cannot say that it is the end unequivocally, but we are very close. It's almost like being on the 5-yard line. We're so close. First down, we've got ways to go to get there. It's very doable, but we should not declare victory all quite yet. We have several things to think about. The variant is there, the flu season, and the holiday season. All of them are wild cards. They can get us into trouble if we don't tread this cautiously and do meticulously what we know will work.
Dr. Jain, it's good to see you again. On Friday, the FDA gave authorization for children 5 to 11 to get the Pfizer vaccine. With all the angst that's been going on about vaccinating children, is this going to change hearts and minds any, or what impact do you think this will have on the overall case count, and will this make parents rest easier about their children getting a shot?
Sure. So I'm very excited about seeing the FDA and the CDC very soon to give approval for the vaccine for children. There are about 15% of our population, which is in the age group, which is has not been vaccinated yet. And what we really need to be thinking about is how to get that 5 to 11-year-old age groups vaccinated. I know that the parents are concerned about the side effects, right? The safety is the major issue. The efficacy, we know it works. There's no issue with the efficacy. The safety is an issue. And honestly, when you look at the data, when doctors after doctors, the scientists are looking at what the studies are showing, and it's very safe. There is one rare complication, myocarditis, very rare. And in fact, you're at greater risk of getting these complications if you get COVID from the vaccine. So I would really encourage parents to get their children vaccinated, and more children who are vaccinated. It gets us closer to a time period when COVID numbers will be so low that we will not be concerned and worried going in large gatherings and being with people who are vaccinated or unvaccinated.
I'm curious about your personal decisions that you're making in relationship to this virus, knowing what the numbers are, and I know you've been vaccinated. Are you getting on airplanes? Are you going into restaurants, going to public events like sporting events? What personal value judgments are you making regarding this virus at this point?
Sure. So I can share with you, I visited my parents a couple of weeks ago up in Boston. I'm from there, and I was wearing a mask throughout the trip. Everyone was wearing a mask, and I feel relatively safe traveling when I'm wearing a mask. When I'm in large gatherings, again, I wear a mask as well. When I'm at stores where I don't know if people are vaccinated or unvaccinated, I wear a mask. I don't wear a mask when I'm with family or friends or individuals that I know who are vaccinated. And that's where it really makes a difference in being able to gather with people who you know are vaccinated and relatively safe. So I am taking it sort of step by step. I'm going to the gym, but I wear a mask when I'm going to swimming. I take it off, I swim, I put it back on. So step by step, I think that's the safe way to go, especially if you're elderly, if you're immunocompromised. You don't want to be too quickly letting your guard down.
Well, let me ask you, even if the pandemic is declared over at some point, do you think we've crossed some kind of threshold where we will have to accept wearing masks and this kind of thing on a more permanent basis? Do you expect that even when there's no longer a pandemic that you'll still probably put on a mask on an airplane and some of these other things that we've had to do as a result?
So for the short time, which means 2 to 5 years, I think we're going to be looking at people who are at a situation where we don't know. But when you get your numbers to be sufficiently low and we have very good data that we're not seeing cases, then I think people will feel fairly comfortable. But I don't see COVID completely going away for a number of years.
And Dr. Jain, I'm always hesitant to bring you into the politics and the political debate about this because
That's okay.
You deal with the science and you don't deal that much with the
politicians don't.
And the politicians don't. Let's be honest about that.
Yes.
But I have to ask you, as a result of this legislative special session that's going on in Nashville, and this question goes directly to you because on Friday, the House passed a bill that sort of neutralizes or nullifies really the authority of local health departments to make its own decisions about pandemic issues. And I'm talking specifically about the Shelby County Health Department, and there are 5 others that were acting pretty much autonomously because they have different issues and different needs. Is this going to be detrimental? Not just now with the fighting the COVID, but in the future to take the authority away from the Shelby County Health Department to make decisions in the best interest of the public? And that might be a leading question.
It is a leading question, but I will say I really believe that when we leave the decision making at the local level, we really do much better. Because as you see, this pandemic is local, right? It happens in different pockets and different counties have to take action based on what that local data is. I really don't think Nashville can make a decision for what needs to be done in Shelby County on many of these matters. Just as Nashville says, Washington shouldn't be making decisions for the state either, right? So let's bring it down to the local level. We have experts here in Shelby County who are as well read as those are in Washington or in Nashville. And we can make our own decisions on these matters. So I really believe if we as a community can understand what's best for us, it is local decision-making on these health matters.
And a brief follow-up to that. Do you think it would have been wise, and I don't know that they didn't do this, but I hadn't heard that they did, would it have been wise for the Shelby County Health Department to send some kind of a statement to the legislature to ask them to please back off from some of the things that they are trying to do during this special session in the interest of public safety here in Shelby County?
So I think it's hard to say, but if you ask the health officials and if you ask even the doctors and the scientists, they will agree that local decision-making makes a difference. And our health department has done an excellent job. And I really wish that there was more conversation and communication amongst the lawmakers with the health officials at the local level.
Well, we've lost track of how many different bills are up before this special session regarding COVID, and some really don't have anything to do with COVID at all, but nonetheless, that's what they're saying. And I know the one affecting the health department probably is nearest and dearest to you, but I wonder, based on your knowledge of the other bills that are out there, are there any others that are particularly concerning to you that could have negative ramifications to the general public?
So I think the issues about masking and penalizing, businesses and individuals, it just doesn't make sense. Honestly, come on, we have to be thinking, where the science is taking us, not where the politics is taking us. And I would honestly say We know that masking has worked in schools. We know that the counties that have had masking mandate during the peaks of the pandemic have done better. So let the scientific community suggest what is the best and let the health departments follow that. Let's keep the politics out of it.
One last question from me is that you mentioned the upcoming holidays. When we get to Thanksgiving, when we get to Christmas, what are the one or two things you still think residents should keep in mind as they plan to celebrate the holidays?
So if you're getting together with friends who are not vaccinated, I would say you can plan ahead. Tell them to get vaccinated or wear a mask while you're not eating and drinking and so forth. I think that's important to do. The other thing is that if you are going to be in a gathering where, again, folks aren't vaccinated, you can ask individuals to get tested. We can do pool testing. It is cheap. It's readily available. We have lots of testing available, and it makes us all safe. So testing is available, masking, and certainly, the social distancing and all. We know what the measures are. Do not think that this virus is completely gone away. It is there in low numbers. It is going to cause infection. Now, I'll tell you this. What's really encouraging is that we have lots of good treatments available, such as monoclonal antibodies and new medications coming out. And certainly, we know the measures that we do make a huge difference.
I don't want to get you in hot water with any of your fellow members on the COVID-19 task force, but I am curious, as we're rounding this corner here, and hoping for a new day in terms of how we deal with this virus because the numbers are so low. As you look back now at this last 19 or 20 months, is there anything that you think the task force or the health department could have done differently or should have acted sooner on, could have been more preventative on, or overall are you pretty pleased with how Shelby County reacted and handled this pandemic?
I think I'm very pleased with the way we handled it. It was a very difficult situation. At one end, we were so fearful of what could happen. And honestly, we done the best that we could in the situation that we were in. I was on calls multiple times in a day with both the mayors, and we had to make such critical decisions with businesses and what to do with the masks. And certainly, getting the vaccine out and all of those. If you look at Shelby County and compare that to our neighboring cities, Nashville, Knoxville, and others, we have done better than those other communities. There's good data on how we overall have performed better in the overall number of cases per 100,000. So I think for the situation that we're in, we have done fairly well.
Well, if that's the case, and I do believe it is, it's in large part due to people like you and the contributions you made to this fight against this terrible pandemic. No way you could have predicted all the political jabs and everything else that was a part of this. No one could have expected that, but I think you've weathered the storm pretty well.
Hear, hear.
And we appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Jain. We'll stay in touch with you for sure. We'll take a break.
Okay,
we'll be right back and talk about the special session in Nashville right after this.
Injured, NST Strong is the way to go. Call 683-7000.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
The LG Wash Tower. Redefine laundry in half the space.
Your feed is flooded with questionable posts.
Our Verify team cuts through the misinformation.
Email verify@abc24.com. Your questions, straight answers.
Verify on ABC24 News.
The way news should be.
Oh, yeah, dude, that doesn't look good.
I know what to do. I'm going to cashnetusa.com. I can apply in minutes, and if approved, I can have the money as soon as the same business day.
Go to cashnetusa.com to apply for the money you need.
We going to daytime.
Nick Cannon, weekdays at 3 on ABC24 Memphis. Brought to you locally by Reeves Law Firm.
Thousands of people just showed up.
And now 16 years have passed.
What year is it? You're not alone. We are all in this together.
4400, new series this Monday at 9, 8 Central, only on the CW.
Stay prepared with the Mid-South's most accurate forecast on the ABC24 News app.
All right, so much to get to in the second segment as we talk about the special session of the state legislature in Nashville addressing COVID concerns. I'm joined once again by ABC24 political analyst Otis Sanford and reporter Brad Broders now, who's trying to follow this thing. And first thing, a caveat, this is Friday afternoon as we record this, and the legislation is still moving very frantically in Nashville, so we're going to try and be as updated as we can, but we don't know exactly how it's all going to fall out, but we're getting a clearer picture as we record this. It's also worth noting, fellas, that typically a governor calls the special session of the state legislature, but for the first time in Tennessee history, that was not the case. The governor was not so crazy about this, but the Republican majority in the House and Senate really wanted this done, and so unlike, I should say, contrary to what Governor Bill Lee had said he wanted, we're going to have this special session here, and legislation is moving quickly. There's some, 90-some bills that are before the legislature now. Some have more wind at their sails than others. So let's bring in Brad first. And Brad, why don't you bring us up to speed right quickly on the legislation that's moving most quickly right now?
Yeah, middle of the afternoon, Richard and Otis. A lot going on right now, but in as we move through the middle of the afternoon, as we tape this Friday, a lot of things that have passed one chamber or the other of the state legislature in Nashville, still pending at this taping. Final approval from the other, and obviously governor signing, but several COVID things that have been passed so far or are being discussed as we speak. The most significant is the Senate passed a bill which would limit the power of the health departments in the 6 metro counties of the state of Tennessee, which includes Shelby County. Now, if many of our viewers may not know this, right now the state controls the health departments of the 89 rural counties, but the 6 metro counties, including Nashville, Chattanooga, and Memphis, obviously they can make their own health directives, just like the new health directive went into effect this week, limiting masks. So that still is pending final approval, but that would severely potentially limit health directives and other powers independently in Shelby County and these other urban counties. Some other significant things that have passed, if I can just reference my note, they also are discussing not allowing any businesses to require masks inside businesses. That would be a big deal. That's already getting a lot of blowback from Ford Motor Company because they passed the major incentives to build the Blue Oval City in Haywood County, about 40 miles or so north of Memphis. Ford is already saying they do not support that. They say wearing masks got us through this pandemic, allowed folks in car manufacturing plants to be able to wear a mask and still be able to produce cars. That's been very controversial, already getting a lot of blowback from legislature. One more thing to pass along quickly, Richard and Otis. The Senate also passed a bill which would allow counties, not make it a requirement, but allow counties to make school board races partisan. That is also getting a lot of discussion this afternoon in Nashville, Richard and Otis.
Which is just great, isn't it, Otis? We're going to bring politics into school board races now and have people declare a party. We're going to have primaries now, which will be more expensive as well because we'll have to go through all of that and make school board races as partisan as they can be.
Richard, I never thought I would say this, but I thought I had seen the worst of the worst with this legislature, but this special session is the worst of the worst. You know, the issue that I have here is that they're making all of these decisions about what to do in a pandemic, what not to do, what businesses can and cannot do, and they don't know what they are doing. This is an issue of trust, and I don't trust this legislature to be acting in the best interest of all residents, of all Tennesseans. They are making politically expedient decisions. They are following their base. They are running away and running amok, really, from really what the governor wants, and his leadership is weak, and he cannot stop this from happening. This is just a sad day. I think some of this is going to wind up in the courts, and hopefully we have some federal courts that will put a stop to some of this.
You got legislators who, last time I checked, most of them are not scientists or doctors, making these very important health decisions. And what's interesting is how many of these different bills, Brad, have nothing to do with COVID. I mean, making the school board races partisan, that's not really a COVID issue. And other things too that are not only limiting the power of school boards, but district attorneys' power being limited, private businesses, they're going to step on that, local health officers, which we talked about, and even the governor is also looking at having some of his power limited because of the legislation going through the legislature right now.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Richard, to notice that, a lot of this is, we had a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic, we thought, but if these laws go into place and are kind of locked in the books, I mean, what happens if there's, heaven forbid, another COVID-19-like pandemic in 5 or 10 years where some mitigation efforts would be potentially life-saving and a bunch of state laws are on the books to potentially, and especially in highly concentrated, highly populated metro counties, to not allow mitigation efforts where the risk of spread and disease is at the highest. So this will certainly be challenged from all indications. You're already seeing some statements coming out. As of this taping, none of these have had the official approval, but with the supermajorities in the state legislature, writings on the wall that a lot of these Republican measures are going to pass, and awaiting the governor's final signature.
And one point I want to make is that I think that Ford Motor Company intervening on this and making their feelings known, I think that's significant. It probably won't change anything, but it is very significant. And you have to wonder if the Ford leadership in Dearborn, Michigan is wondering, what have we gotten ourselves into in the state of Tennessee? I would be wondering that if I were the leader and the head of the Ford Motor Company. We have a state that is not looking out for the interest of workers and is trying to take control away from private businesses to conduct their business. This is just not a good look for something that was supposed to change the economic face of West Tennessee.
And as you pointed out, the governor deserves a lot of praise for bringing Ford here.
Yes.
But then Ford, according to TNJ on the Hill, which I'm just now reading this story, called Governor Lee's office to register his concerns about this, but the governor, hands-eye, can't do anything about it. So again, pointing out how weak he is compared to the legislature of his own party, they sent out a text message to senators saying the company is worried about being barred from requiring its employees to wear masks or get vaccinated. And again, basically, no response from lawmakers, at least at this point. We'll have to see what happens. We're running over on time, but we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
When choosing a lawyer, the choices seem unlimited. Here's what's important to know. The insurance company has unlimited money. We fight fire with fire. Size is our strength. There's only one Morgan & Morgan.
When you use Constant Contact, prepare accordingly. Let's win this with email marketing and more to drive your business forward. Constant Contact. Try it free today.
Need cash? TitleMax offers 2 ways to get it. Get cash using your car title. Go to TitleMax.com, enter the car year, make, model. See how much you can get. TitleMax also offers an unsecured loan. No title required. Check out TitleMax.com when you need more cash. Check out TitleMax.com and shop us for rates. Get up to $2,500 without a car title, or up to $6,500 using your car title. And you'll say, I got my title back with TitleMax.
Get your title back with TitleMax.
Hi.
Hi. Patience. Pass it on. A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Everyone who gets injured in a car wreck has a story to tell. That's where Nahon Saharovich and Trotz comes in. Call us at 683-7000 and we'll work to give your story a good ending.
Not much time left, but we do want to talk about the indictment of a state senator, one of the most powerful state senators in the Tennessee General Assembly, and that's Brian Kelsey of Germantown. He's head of the Education Committee, or was. He's temporarily stepping down from that position as a result of the indictment. He said the indictment that he has misused campaign funds, some $91,000 that he used funneled through some soft money, and he used a club owner in Nashville to make it happen. He's called it a political witch hunt by the Biden administration, and then he said this.
These 5-year-old unfounded allegations have been reviewed and re-reviewed. They were wrong then and they're wrong now. I'm totally innocent, and I look forward to being cleared at trial.
Otis, based on your understanding of the case, will he be cleared at trial? What do you think?
Well, it remains to be seen. It depends on whether a jury is going to be able to really understand that you are not allowed under federal law to use campaign money and switch it from one campaign to another totally different campaign. The average person doesn't really understand that, but Brian Kelsey has been in politics long enough. He should have known this.
He's a lawyer.
He's a lawyer. He should have known this, and his campaign people should have known this. So it'll just be a case of whether a jury is going to believe that he had criminal intent, and that's going to be a case to make. You have to have criminal intent in order to be convicted, and the jury is going to have to determine if he had that.
And Brad, I would bet that Senator Katrina Robinson, a Democrat who was convicted on federal charges just last month, might beg to differ with his characterization that this was a political witch hunt.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see with both of these state lawmakers from Shelby County, because Katrina Robertson has requested her acquittal reversed in a new trial. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. For now, she is still a member of the Tennessee legislature. Brian Kelsey, state senator from Germantown, he temporarily stepped down from the education committee, but it will remain to be seen his future, because he had a really barely won his last election in 2018, 51-49. So we'll be interested to see how that plays out.
And Otis, another feather in the cap of the long, proud history of the Shelby County delegation, both parties.
Oh, yeah.
We've been here long enough to know.
Yeah.
It's quite a record, and when it comes to corruption, is it not?
Equal opportunity graft. That's what we're looking at here.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
We buy any car. We buy any car. We buy any car. Any.
Did you know trading in your car at a dealer could cost you money? A recent study found consumers who trade in their car pay an average of $990 more. So don't trade in. Sell it to We Buy Any Car. Learn more and get your free online valuation now at WeBuyAnyCar.com.
Find out how much your car's worth at We Buy Any Car.
What should we do?
I'm going to CashNetUSA.com. I can apply in minutes, and if approved, we can have the money as soon as the same business day.
Go to CashNetUSA.com to apply for the money you need.
I have dreams, some big, some small. New car, new home, cool vacations. So I joined Hope Credit Union, and now I'm on the right track with rewards checking and even a credit card. I'm fulfilling all of my dreams. Join Hope Credit Union. Brighter futures begin with hope.
Jamie told Michelle that people were questioning her character.
I'm now seeing a red flag.
It's sick.
What did you say to Michelle?
New Bachelorette Tuesday on ABC and stream on Hulu.
We'd love to hear from you about today's broadcast. The email address is rransom@abc24.com. That's rransom@abc24.com. My thanks to Brad and to Otis, and of course to Dr. Manoj Jain before that, and to you at home. We'll see you next week for ABC24 This Week.